As Chuck said, I've been kind of involved in AMYA regattas for quite a while, one way or another. Some of you may recall the good old days where we had the file maker system, the website, and I was making jot forms for everybody to do registrations on their regattas, but recently we've made some big changes on the website side, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how that works and the scoring system that we have that works with that now. So let me just share a screen here. So I'm sure you don't really need my face all the time. The whole idea was with some kind of end-to-end solution for regattas that would handle creating the regatta, promoting the regatta, getting people registered in the regatta, running the regatta and scoring the regatta, and then publishing the results. So you'll see that we have two presenters tonight, and that's not a typo. I just wanted to be absolutely kind of upfront with this, that I do have two roles here. One is a member of the AMYA board, Region 3 director. That's really where Chuck and previous presidents had asked me to take a look at regattas and how we manage them, and can we put something together that the AMYA could offer that would provide an end-to-end solution for regattas. But I also have another hat I'll be wearing a little bit, which is the owner of Broadridge Services, who I have created this scoring system, which is a piece of the whole solution. But I just wanted to be sure you understood which part of the AMYA and which pieces are just part of my personal business ventures. So end-to-end regattas. So what we're going to do is going to talk about the two pieces. The AMYA website, which handles things like setting up a regatta, promoting it, and getting skipper registrations. And then Easy Regatta, which handles scoring and connects to the AMYA website. I looked at a lot of solutions before I took the big step of deciding to develop one myself for scoring. A-Fleet I know is popular, but I really felt we needed to have an iOS solution, iPhones, iPads as well. And the A-Fleet guy was not keen on porting his app. I understand why. So I ended up deciding to do that piece myself. So we now have an application that'll run on iPhones and iPads, and it'll run on Macs that have the Apple Silicon, so some of the more recent Macs. So I'll start by quickly running through the AMYA system for setting up regattas, and some of you probably used it already, some of you may not have, but just to give you an idea of the capabilities there. There's a lot in there. I won't be able to show you everything, but I don't know if we have anybody who's an expert on the website, but I certainly know basically how it runs. So if anyone wants to chime in, raise your hand again, and I'll let you talk. So we'll talk through the support that we have already in the amya.org website, and that of course comes as part of your membership in the AMYA. One of the things we have invested in the AMYA. And then once we've got through that, we'll talk about the scoring solution that we have. So basically how this whole thing works is we have the AMYA website. You need to be a club administrator to create a regatta and post it up on the AMYA site. We can talk a bit about that. Once you've done that, anybody essentially can go to the AMYA and register for the regatta. And as the admin, you have the ability to see who's registered and make sure they paid and all of those types of things. And then when it comes time to actually run the regatta, Easy Regatta has a way of downloading the details of the regatta and all of the skippers that are enrolled. It is a tool you can use then to score and manage fleets if it's a multi-fleet regatta, and then creates a PDF of the results that can be loaded back up into the AMYA to show as results for the regatta. So that's essentially what we're trying to achieve with an end-to-end regatta solution. And we have a solution. It's I think it's probably the best we've had to date. And so let's get into the demo then. So let me share now the AMYA side of this. Okay. So if you go to the AMYA website, you can go to the regattas schedule page and see all of the regattas that have been scheduled. If you want to schedule a new regatta, you go to the clubs and log in to your club, assuming you are an administrator for your club. If you don't know your user ID and password, you can look up using these links, look up who are the administrators and confirm you are, and then ask to have your password emailed to you. If you still have any problems, there's a link here to get support from I think Dan Shear, probably going to respond to this one. So you log in to your club, you can look at the regattas, and this is my club, by the way, and you can add a new regatta. Or, and I think this is a really important feature, you can take an existing regatta. This was a regatta we had back in April, open it up, and then make a copy of it. So typically you tend to do the same regattas year by year. If you copy it, you just give it a new date. Give it the right name if it changed. We'll change the location. Maybe we want to change the fees this year. Save that. Okay, so then we have the full regatta page, which gives you all of the details that you need for a regatta and more. You can make it active. You can have live registration, which means you can register using the AMYA system for registration, which is what we would recommend. If you don't do that, you can create a link down in this field here to link to your own website if you have a registration system running there. You can upload the notice of race and the sailing instructions, information about whether you take checks or not needs to get the check and what the name needs to be written on the check, t-shirts, additional collections fees, a whole bunch of capabilities to create this. And when you're done there, you just save the changes, and you have a new regatta that if you've made it active, people can register in. So if we go back to a regatta like this, the regatta list, if you wanted to register, let's say in let's say you want to register in Region 6 DF95 Championships. As a user, you have the information when you click on it, tells you who's registered already, and a link up here to register. And Jack, our web guy, has made it really easy to register, because you put your own AMYA number in here, click search, and up it comes, click select, and you're done. If you're not an AMYA member yet, you can click the button down here and create a new temporary membership, if you will, or a prospective member, and get access to the registration there. So so you go through that process, and then it'll send you a link to pay through PayPal. So that essentially is the AMYA side of this, where you create a regatta, enable registration, and the skippers go ahead and get registering in it. Then once you get to running the regatta, then we need to look at the Easy Regatta application. This is an application that runs on iPhones, iPads, and it will run on Silicon Macs. So this is what the app looks like when you launch it. Is that, I'm not sure, this is a strange, an unusual format. Is it possible? Can you read that? Okay. Give me the thumbs up, anyone? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can read it, Jerry.
Okay, thanks. So it'll start up with a getting started regatta in there. And this is where you can keep a list of regattas that you have worked on. And if you see at the bottom here, there are 3 tabs. There's a regattas tab, there's a skippers tab, and there's a racing tab. If you want help on any screen, and this comes up automatically the first you use it, there's a little question mark down here that'll give you the basic information. You can say, okay, I got it, I don't need to see that again. Or you can go to a help website to get more information or report a request for a new feature and that type of thing. And it'll tell you things like if you wanted to create a copy of Regatta, you can just clone it by dragging to the right. So we've got a copy. If you want to delete a regatta, you can drag it to the left. And then if you want to add a regatta, you click the plus sign up here. And this is where the kind of magic happens. You can certainly enter a regatta on your own manually, but you can also download it from the AMYA website. So the AMYA websites, AMYA regattas all have a regatta ID. You see that when you go to the details for the regatta where we started registering. I happen to know that one's 10278. As soon as you put the 5th digit in, it'll start searching to see if it can find it. So it found the DF95 Region 6 Championship. That's the one we wanted, so we'll load it. And now we have the regatta in place. If I click on that, we have 31 registered skippers. It comes in initially as a single fleet regatta. Let's leave it like that for the moment. If you want to see the skippers, you can either click on this link or you can go to the skippers tab. And here are all the skippers. If you decided you wanted, for example, to rank these skippers, if you were doing an HMS where you want to start off with a ranked list, you can manipulate this. You know, maybe Mark is our #1 skipper here. I don't know. Do we have Dan on the call yet? I don't know. Maybe he's pretty good as well, huh? So you can rank this list by dragging them around, and you can also see the details. For example, if Dan decided for some inexplicable reason that he wanted to sail under the number 12 instead of 121, maybe he lost the 1 off his sail, then we could do that, and it does a check and tells you, well, actually, there's already a 12. If he insists on 12, then we can say, okay, what do we do about that? Now highlighting the 2 skippers that have the 12, maybe we ask Mike and he kindly agrees to put a 1 in front of his number, and we're back in business. So we got our skippers, we got our regatta. Now it's time to go racing. This we have so far set up as a single fleet. It's 31 boats, so we'll soon find out that doesn't work very well. But click add a race. Race 1 comes up. You can add more than 1 race at a time if you like, but generally the best way to do it is probably to add them as you go along. It tells you you've got 31 unscored skippers, and here they are. On the races page, you've got an unscored side and a scored side, and simply by clicking on it or tapping on any of these skippers, you score them and put them in place. So I can score a bunch of them here. Once you've got skippers scored, there's things you can do. You can, if you decided that you got these two 55, 56 mixed up, you come over here to the right-hand side. Oh, there we go, and change the order. That's not a problem. If you decided that 79 actually committed a foul, you long click on the number on the right, change him to a let's say a DSQ, and he gets put at the bottom with a DSQ penalty. If he fouled the number 85 and you want to give them redress, long click, redress. So instead of his 7th, we can give him a 3.5. You probably won't be able to do that in the first race, but you can come back and do that later. So he gets a redress number. Now, obviously, at this point, a 31 boat single fleet is probably not going to happen very often. So let's look at how we would handle this using an HMS, for example, heat management system, promotion relegation. So what I can do is I can go back to the regattas. Let's just make a copy of this one. So here's my copy of this that we're now going to run as an HMS. So the scoring method here, instead of being one fleet, is going to be HMS. These are presets. They set a bunch of different parameters that you can change. But to make things simpler, you start with a simple preset. HMS is your standard promotion relegation. It's set up to do HMS per the HMS 2022 specs from the Model Yachting Association in the UK. SHRS is a system that's getting popular. I think, I'm not sure who is adopting it, but it's certainly getting adopted in Europe quite a bit. This is a system where the boats cycle through fleets over the course of the qualification, then go to a championship round, odd, even, gold, silver, and then if you just want to have your own deal where you set all of the parameters manually, you can click on custom. But we're going to go with HMS. It'll typically, depending on the number of skippers, it'll pick a number of fleets. You can change that. I'll show you how to do that later. So we've got 31 registered skippers now. We're doing HMS. And now you can see where ordering these may come in. So for the seeding race, we now have, Mark in A fleet and Dan in B fleet. And if I decided that one of these other gentlemen was the third best skipper in this fleet, I can put him in here. Now he'll be in the A fleet. So it'll use the order that the skippers are in and assign them to the fleets. So they have fleets balanced in terms of skill. You can just randomize it if you want, but if you do the manual, it gives you the chance to rank them according to your view of their ranking. However, this is just for the seeding. So let's go to racing, down the racing tab. Add a race. This is a seed race. So when we add it, we'll get 2 fleets, and we can score the fleet, we can score the B fleet, no problem, whichever way around you want to do it. So let's start in the B fleet. I'm just going to score these as they come here. And score the A fleet. I'll do something a bit different here. I'll mention this button here. If you have some boats that have been basically disabled and are no sailing, you often end up with several of those that you need to score as did not compete. So this gives you a way of doing that all in one step. So they'll all get sent to the bottom of the list here. So we now have done our first seeding fleet. And for those of you that abide by the HMS specifications, you'll know that there is only one seeding rate in HMS 2022. You can do more if you want. Let's keep with the HMS specs and say, okay, this is the end of the seeding. And now I'm going to click this button here that says, okay, seeding's over. Now we're going to get into the full final qualification stage, which for an HMS regatta will be promotion relegation. You have an option here to change the fleet sizes. HMS has some very specific rules about what size fleets you need to have for certain sizes of regatta. Easy Regatta will follow that as far as possible. If you need to change it though, you can click this. It's suggesting an A fleet of 14 and a B fleet of 17. But if I decided I would rather do 13 in the A fleet, then it'll put best the 18 in the B fleet. Let's do that. let's add our first promotion race. So here's race 2. I've got my 2 fleets, and down here, this is a useful tool. This is the fleet board tool. So if you click this, it'll tell you which boats are in which fleet. So there are 13, 14, 15, 16, and 18. So this is your 13 and 18. And then if you do want to get fancy with managing your regatta, you can take that and you can share it. You can print it if you have a printer at the lake, so you can stick it up on the notice board. And if you had, if this wasn't a simulation, you could actually email it or post it on a WhatsApp group or text it to a group, a text group, so that the skippers could get that in there. I'll maybe give you an idea of what that looks like on a larger device as well, because this is where it becomes interesting. So let me show you what that would like on an iPad. Do this anyway. So this is actually not the iPad view. This is the Mac view, a Silicon Mac, but it basically emulates an iPad. So this is what the iPad view looks like. On the iPad, you get to see the races in one column, the fleets in another column, and the details of the race in the other column. So you can see here we've got A fleet. We can't score it. It's all grayed out. This is because it's promotion relegation. We've got to run the B fleet first. And here, for example, if I show you the fleet board and share it, you can see we could send this to my wife. I don't think she'd be very interested in that. I could send it to Dave. He might be more interested. Or we can save it to a file and whatever else we need to do with it. So it's the standard Apple iOS sharing capabilities. Let's back to the iPhone. So as you saw, if I like to score A fleet before B fleet, it won't let me do that. There's nothing going on here. When I go to B fleet, I can start scoring. So the first 4, because it's set for promoting 4, get a 0 score. And a green circle because they're going to be promoted. Let's score the rest of these guys. If I decide that we've had a problem before I commit this, I can say, okay, sorry, I got these 2 in the wrong order. I'm going to move 71 up to 4th. And then he'll be the one that gets promoted, not 56. And you have all of your capabilities as well. Once you're sure that the promoted skippers are correct, because you can't change them after the fact, you can change other aspects of the scores here for this race, but not the promoted skippers. Then you have now enabled this button, commit promotions and enable next heat scoring, which does exactly what it says. So now when I go to A fleet, I have those promoted skippers. I think 44 was one of them. And I have my my A fleet with all of the skippers. When I start scoring here, I'll start at 1, 2. I don't know if you noticed, actually, if you're looking at the B fleet, the first scored skipper got a score of 18 because there are 17 in the A fleet. Back to the A fleet. Score these guys. And you can scroll and you can move them around. You can give them redress. You can do all of the things you need to do. So we've now got a seeding race and a motion relegation race. We can always do that again. If you really make a mess of a race, then you can remove it, but just the last one you did, and re-enter the finishes, and then of course once you've had a few more races, you can go back to the regatta tab, and now the results link is activated. And the results for our regatta, race 1 is in green because it's seeding, race 2 is a regular race. You can see we have several first places in the seeding races, which is normal, of course. It will it'll break ties according to the racing rules of sailing. It's a fairly complicated algorithm, but it works. And I guess I didn't have any. Oh yeah, we have a couple. It'll highlight some of the DNCs and DNS and what have you. Again, you can share this. So if you wanted to print it, you can print it. If you want to save it to a file, you can save it to a file. And if you had, if this was a phone actually on a network, you'd be able to send a message to a message group or post this on a WhatsApp group. And the other thing you can do is you can save it to a file. Let's call this save it to a file, and that way you're ready to upload that to the AMYA. Let's go back then to the club. So we have a regatta we've set up in the club. When you work on a regatta, there is an option at the top right to add the results. So you can go there. You'll need some text in. So this would be where you would paste your regatta report, which I'm not going to bore you with. Save the results, and once you've got the report in, you can upload the results. Choose the file, regatta scores, upload, and now we have. If I can find it. Is now well, this is a different regatta, but you'll see then that you've got the results uploaded into the regatta with color coding for which ones are discarded. This one didn't have any discards because there weren't enough races. Maybe one last thing to show you would be how you handle some of the details of setting up a regatta. Okay, so let's go back to our regatta. So if the settings for a regatta come in 3 different places. So the basic throwouts for a regatta you can do with the regatta throwouts page. You can set them completely manually. So I could have a throwout after 6. So after 6, I've got 2, 3, 4. So, or you can do it every X races. I just do every 7 races, and it sets the throwouts to 7, 14, etc. Or I can have a special first throwout, which is what's used often in HMS. So I can have 1 throwout after 4, and then after that I want to do every 8. So there's lots of different combinations for doing throwouts. Penalties default are the kind of standard penalties, but if you wanted to have a DSQ be a 2-point or a 4-point penalty, you can do that as well. And then the fleet management is where it gets into the nitty-gritty of all the different ways of handling multiple fleets. So we've picked HMS. So when we go to fleet management, you'll see that it's preset to do promotion relegation with 1 seeding race. I can't change all of these, so maybe I should go back to a new regatta. Let me do that. Let me clone this one. So you can, if you want to change the fleet the fleet management, you can have a regatta that only has one series. In other words, it would be like a promotion relegation where you know the rankings and you don't do any seeding. Or it might be an odd even regatta where you don't have qualification or seeding, you just go straight into it. That would be a single series. And you can say, okay, my first fleets are going to be created randomly. I'm going to do it on a promotion relegation with 2 fleets and promote 4 boats. So that would be a promotion relegation regatta where you know enough about the seeding that you're going to seed the initial fleets manually and just promotion relegation from the first race. This might also be something like an odd even. In that case, you would pick a cyclic, 2 fleets, and you could randomize or manually select the first fleets, however you want to do it. If you want to do a more complicated regatta, such as an HMS with multiple seed races, you can specify for the seeding how the seeding races get handled for the regatta throwouts. So if you don't want the seeding races to be used for the throwouts, you can say, okay, I don't want any throwouts at all. Or as is often the case in some regattas I've been to, you can throw out one of your seeding races for the regatta. So after 1 or 2 races, you would say, okay, I can throw one out. And then you can manually set the initial fleets. You can have the seeding races. This is going to be the seeding and qualifying races. You could keep them static. That would be typically the case. You can have as many fleets as you want. You can have throwouts. If you're going to have a lot of seeding races, you may want to have throwouts for the seeding. This was the one we just set, which is how the seeding races affect throwouts for the regatta as a whole. And you can decide if you want the seeds to be used in tie breaking for the regatta. So that would set the seeding, and then when you move from seeding into the final series for an HMS style promotion relegation, you would set the final series fleets by promotion. You would have presumably the same number of fleets in the final series, and you could promote however many you want to promote or relegate for that series. So there are a lot of different options here. If you were to do a standard simple heat racing system, you would start manually. You would cycle through the fleets, which is very similar to odd even if there's 2 fleets. But with this, you can have like 6 fleets or 5 fleets, however many you want, and it will cycle through them according to the rules for the SHRS system. And then in the final series, you make them static, and you would have probably 5 fleets again for that. And then if you're doing SHRS, you may not want to call them A fleet and B fleet. So if you want to, you can call them heat 1, 2, 3. That's what it defaults to the SHRS. But you can change those names if you want. You could call this the gold fleet, and this one the silver fleet. If I could spell, there you go. So a lot of flexibility. This is a pretty complicated area, and there's a document in the help docs that helps understand it a bit better. But the good news is, if you just pick HMS, you're going to get HMS standard, and you don't have to worry too much unless you want to promote 5, or unless you want to have 4 fleets or more fleets than seems to be required. So I think I've probably talked for long enough. It's probably time to open things up and let you ask a few questions. So let me see if I can unmute everybody. I actually can't unmute you, but I think you are able to unmute yourselves. So if anyone has a question, just go ahead. If it's getting out of hand, I'll ask you to raise your hand and I'll call on you.
How do we get this program to play with it?
To play with it, it's available on the App Store. So as I was saying, this piece of it is kind of my venture, and I've done it as a separate business. So unfortunately, this isn't something that AMYA paid for and gets included in the dues. But you can find it on the App Store under Easy Regatta, or using either of those QR codes.
What is the difference between your standard and your pro?
The Easy Regatta does single fleets. The Pro does single and multiple fleets. So if you want to do HMS, you need the Pro. If you just want to do single fleet regattas, then you just need the basic Easy Regatta.
Jerry, is an iPhone 14 required or something older?
Older will work. The restriction is iOS 16, which I think goes back to, I looked that up once. I think you can go back to like an iPhone 8 or 9 or something, but you need iOS 16 to run it.
Thank you.
Jerry, there are a lot of comments people are typing in. Did you have a chance to see those? And if not, those people, please speak up.
Will there be a tape of this video presentation, this Zoom, that's available for review?
We are recording it, so I'm going to leave that up to Chuck as to how and if he wants to kind of publish it and how widely, but I think that's the intent. Is that right, Chuck?
Yes, it'll go onto the website.
Thank you.
And am I correct that this will not run on Android?
That's correct. Yeah, so somebody made the comment that Android is the most popular operating system in the world. Well, yeah, probably not in the US, but it's good to have both options. So when Fleet decided not to do iOS, I decided that it would be worth doing it. So
Android won't work.
Nope.
No, this doesn't work.
Okay.
The reason that A-Fleet doesn't run on iOS is the same reason that this is not running on Android. It's not trivial to port from one to the other.
And one last question, can we use this for club races? And we do 8 races a day on 8 days during a season. And this looks like it's just for single regattas.
It is, yeah. So you could certainly set up a 1 week regatta and score it, and then clone that and score that regatta as a separate regatta. Probably what you're going to ask for next is something I've already been asked for, which is could you come up with a way of taking all of those regattas and combining them and coming up with a season score. So that's something that's on the back burner here at the moment that I'm hoping to get to at some point.
Okay, thanks.
When upgrades are done, Jerry, will that just be added on? That anybody's purchased it?
Sorry?
When you do an upgrade, will that just be a free add-on, or will we have to pay to get that upgrade?
At the moment, I'm not planning on charging for upgrades. Like going from Easy Regatta to Easy Regatta Pro is the only real option. As I add features at the moment, I'm not planning on charging anything different. Just it'll be an upgrade you can download from the App Store.
I think Robert's comment was very, very good, that a lot of clubs want to have a series of 6 or 7 weeks, and they want to be able to add all up at one time. That would be a real bonus, I think, for AMYA clubs.
Yeah, I really like that idea. One of the things that I've been fretting about, if you will, is I know our club has had like 3 or 4 different methods for doing that. Like, do you throw out a week, or do you throw out so many scores over the season, or how do you score like the winner gets so many points? There's lots of different ways of scoring a season. I know there are 1 or 2 that are specified in the appendices to the racing rules, but I'd be interested if anyone wants to provide some feedback on what's the best way to score a season. I'd love to hear it.
I just wanted to say, Jerry, that you've done a great job on this. I know it's not easy to put all that into it and to get it to work on on a specific system. I've done quite a bit of work on laptops, but nothing on the phones yet.
Yeah, thank you. It started out as a retirement project where I thought, if I'm going to stave off dementia, I think I better have something to stimulate my brain. So it was okay. I think I'm going to learn how to write an app. And I was pleasantly surprised by the tools and the support that's available. So
I agree with you. I started working on scoring program for our own fleets. And we've got it so it's scoring throughout the whole season now and comes up with everything at the end. Automatically picks out the picture of the boat that's won that week and throws it up into a JPEG file so we can upload it to our website. But I really appreciate all the work you did onto this.
thank you. That sounds like fun. Yeah, somebody talked about still having a hard copy on their clipboard, and absolutely. I don't care who developed it. Whatever app or computer or spreadsheet you're using, you need to have paper copies. Any more questions or comments?
I have a couple questions.
Yep.
I noticed in the HMS that you allowed for more than one seating race. I haven't been to an HMS regatta yet that had more than one seating race. Is that possible?
Well, technically HMS has one seating race, although I've been in touch with some of the folks that kind of are in charge of these, and they've been considering more than one, but still very much a thought process. But unlike your experience in the EC12 community, every HMS I went to start with, they had more than one seating race. They would always do two. There are various adaptations. They're not true HMS, but there are plenty of folks that run more than one seating race for HMS, which is why I decided to make that an option. But if you want to run an HMS standard, then just do one seating race. Yeah. It does make tie breaking a challenge. You've got to have your A fleet is going to have the size of the A fleet has to be a multiple of the number of fleets you have, so that you don't have, 3 first places going into A fleet and 1 going into B fleet who won't feel very happy about that.
Okay, in my experience, the one seating race is a bit of a problem. My other question is, can the competitors get the updates in real time during the event?
That can be done through the sharing capabilities, so that would have to be initiated by the scorer, but you can share the fleet boards and the regatta results. You can share those to, I'm not sure what the best solution is going to be, but I have a feeling a WhatsApp group might be good, or you could create a message group on your phone and text those files. Or obviously you can print it if you've got a printer and hang it up by the scoring tent. But yeah, I was wanting to support that whatever way I can, and the sharing capabilities in iOS seem to be the best way to do that.
Okay, well, if you can share to a WhatsApp group, then that would be sent out to folks with Android phones as well as Apple phones.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I guess not. Jerry, thank you ever so much for this. I hope everybody's had a good chance to look at it and research it a little bit more and add it onto their fleets and their regattas.
I'm giving it a test drive in 2 days. Thanks, Jerry.
You're
Great
welcome.
job, Jerry.
Thank you. And if there is that help, that question mark help button on the app. So if you have comments about what you'd like to see added to it, or if you find, heaven forbid, you find a bug, Or if you just want some help, click that and go to the additional help, and it'll take you to a website where you can submit tickets, read a few documents I put together about the details. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
seeing- good
Thanks,
seeing
Jerry.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Good
Good
night.
night, guys.
Good night.
Thanks, Jerry.